and welcome everyone. I'm Patricia Kingston. I'm the Corporate Events Officer at Tourism NI, and I just want to thank you so much for joining us for this morning's webinar session. This is the first of our industry information webinars in preparation for the 153rd Open, which is taking place next summer at Royal Portrush. We're delighted to have so many industries signed up for this session, and we have a busy lineup for you over the next hour or so. So first up, we're going to be hearing from Tourism NI Director of Events, Anya Kearney, who'll be taking us through the journey to the 148th Open back in 2019 before looking ahead to its return in 2025, when we're all going to be back on the world stage once again. We will then be joined by Mark Catherall, who is kindly joining us from Sefton Council today. So Mark will be sharing some insights and learnings from Royal Birkdale, which hosted the Open most recently in 2017. Excuse me. So we're really interested to hear a little bit about their experiences and some learnings from hosting the event. Following Mark, we're going to be hearing about Tourism NI's accommodation certification and grading schemes from our accommodation certification manager, Claire McNaughton. I know we have a lot of accommodation providers registered today, so hopefully that will be a useful segment for you guys in particular, and we'll also be touching on the golf welcome scheme at that stage. Next up will be Tourism NI's golf marketing manager, George Diamandis. He'll be filling us in on the golf visitor and what to expect in the run-up to and during the event. And last but not least, we'll be hearing from Tourism NI's Industry Development Manager, Carolyn Boyd, who'll be telling us a bit about future support and resources available and next steps. If you have any questions at all during the session, pop them into your question panel in the side and we'll pick up as many as we can at the end. But we've lots and lots to cover today, as you can see. So it's now my absolute pleasure to hand over to Tourism NI Director of Events, Anya Kearney, to kick us off today. Over to you, Anya. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. Apologies, I couldn't find my microphone. The joys of online webinars. I am absolutely delighted to be with you all here today. A huge thank you, as Patricia has said, to everybody that's joined online. So I'm here to give you an overview of the opportunities that hosting the 153rd Open at Royal Portrush in 2025 present to us all here in Northern Ireland. And I suppose the first thing to do in really getting an overview of those opportunities is to look back to when we hosted the Open in Royal Portrush in 2019. You can move on to the next slide, please. So the 148th Open in 2019 delivered absolutely across the board. We had an Irish Champion Golfer of the Year in Shane Lowry. We delivered economic benefits that well exceeded the forecast that we had for the event. We had a major event that stirred civic pride and served as a fantastic shop window for Northern Ireland as a great place to live, work, invest, and ultimately to visit. The 148th Championship delivered over 100 million of combined economic and media impact to Northern Ireland. It attracted 237,750 patrons, making it the largest ever Open to be held outside St Andrews and the second largest attendance in the event's history at that time. It was the first ever Open Championship to sell out, and the RRNA referred to the atmosphere at the event as truly magical. It's not surprising that it achieved the highest ever Net Promoter Score for an Open Championship ever held. And some 83% of visitors told researchers that they were more likely to visit Causeway Coast and Glens and or Northern Ireland in the next 2 years as a result of their attendance at the Open. Now, none of us could have predicted the impact and the fact that in 2020 we would have had COVID. But what we have seen is that not only did the Open deliver a fantastic economic and media benefit for us in the course of the event week, it also delivered a huge amount of global reach and long-term impact. Next slide. So as it said, the Open was broadcast around millions of homes around the world. And it's interesting when we look back to the 148th Open that we can see that someone in every single country in the world visited the open.com during Portrush. We had an extensive programme of work that allowed us to bring international buyers in across event week, as well as ensure that we were covering a huge amount of destination broadcast. And as a result of that, it's fantastic to see that by 2023, as you'll hear later today from George, that golf tourism has grown to a record economic impact, now generating £68.2 million annually. I'm pleased to say that international buyers are once again reporting strong demand, which has been assisted by the hosting of major events such as the Open Championship and later to be hosted on the island of Ireland in 2027, the Ryder Cup. We are delighted to see that the 153rd Open is looking to be as big and potentially even better than 2019. Demand is once again at record levels, and the RNA and club have made really good progress in preparing the course for a record-breaking attendance, whilst also focusing on safety and the quality of the experience for both players and spectators alike. Next slide, please. So as we look to the 153rd Open, I suppose there's a number of key things that we and our partners across Northern Ireland are hoping to do. We want to assist the RNA in delivering a safe and successful event, but we also want to ensure that all visitors that come have a really positive experience, not only inside the ropes, but also across the region. We want to ensure that local citizens are proud to host the Open and proud to be from here. And we also want to ensure that we maximise the benefits to Northern Ireland in the event week and also in the weeks beyond. Next slide, please. So to do this, we have structured a multi-agency structure with the RNA, ourselves and a number of local partners, including Causeway Coast and Glens Borough Council. I'm delighted to report that all multi-agency groups have now been established and are meeting on an operational basis. And on the back of today's session, there'll be lots of other opportunities for us to engage with you around how you can maximise the opportunities. But I suppose some of the key takeouts for the Open to be hosted next year is around making sure that we continue to focus on leaving a lasting impression on visitors. Part of our focus is about extending the season, not only beyond the event week, but also to ensure that the visitors that are coming to the Open Championship have the opportunity to know what a fantastic array of experiences are available to them across Northern Ireland. To do that, we need you to tailor your approach to the different visitor profiles that will be coming in. Not only are visitors golf fans, there are also an increasing number of event goers who want to come and experience the event because of the magical experience it has on offer. And they are ripe pickings for us to be able to encourage them to explore more of Northern Ireland and to go and have a fantastic time with you and your businesses. There's also a large number of contractors and workers in the run-up to the event. The build will start in April and run until a number of weeks after the event takes part in July. So this is a real opportunity for you to build a longer term approach to contracting, as well as build longer term relationships with these contractors. Ultimately, it is our hope that the Open will be back again after 2025, but this will all be dependent on how well the work events for both the RNA and also their contractors. I think a really important point to note, the difference for the 153rd Open in comparison to 2019 is that tickets have been allocated through a ballot method. This ballot method means that there is a very different attendance pattern for spectators than those observed in 2019. Only a small number of days are allocated across the week to most those that were successful in securing tickets. The RNA reporting to it's just shy of 2 days across the whole week that people have managed to get tickets for. And not everybody will have secured tickets in sequential days. So that presents us with a huge opportunity to encourage those event spectators that are coming to explore more of the Causeway Coast and Glens and Northern Ireland whilst they are here in between the days that they're visiting the event. Next slide, please. So what can you expect in the run-up to the event? Well, the first and foremost is that traffic and transport logistics will be very important to businesses that are operating locally in the Causeway Coast and Glens Borough Council. I'm really pleased to see that there's been a huge amount of work that's been undertaken through the Traffic and Transport Group, which involves not only the RNA, but also representatives from the Causeway Coast and Glens, Department for Infrastructure, the Northern Ireland Fire and Rescue Service, TransLink, Police Service of Northern Ireland, and of course Tourism NI. And the Traffic and Transport Group are currently working to ensure that we can use as much public transport as possible, that for those that choose not to use public transport, that we have the capacity to service at least 11,000 vehicles across each day, that they're providing reserve parking for staff and contractors, and they're ensuring that the wider local road network can not only facilitate the event, but also that the event does not interrupt with normal day-to-day travel. One of the big things that we want to do is ensure that people can get in and out of the event as effectively as possible, but also that both spectators and non-spectators know that Portrush and the Causeway Coast and Glens, and indeed Northern Ireland, continues to be open to business, whether you're visiting the Open Championship in July 2025 or not. We will also be working with our councils, partners across Northern Ireland to ensure that Northern Ireland is activated and animated well. We're already working closely with colleagues in Causeway Coast and Glens Borough Council in terms of them ramping up their plans to encourage as many people that are visiting the Open Championship to also go and explore other opportunities in not only Portrush but also the wider borough area. We want to ensure that the visitors coming to the Open Championship have an absolutely fantastically positive and vibrant experience. And we want to make sure that when they leave the event, that they're leaving into equally as exciting and happening and vibrant areas as they have experienced whilst they've been inside the ropes observing the Open Championship itself. It's also an opportunity for us to ensure that those people that didn't have the opportunity to secure tickets can feel part of the event and part of a real celebration of not only golf in Northern Ireland, but also our giant spirit. And finally, there is going to be a huge opportunity for local businesses to present compelling value for money offer experiences through the variety of platforms that both Tourism Northern Ireland and Tourism Ireland will have in the run up to the event and across event week. And we're going to hear a little bit more about that today. So thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to give you an overview, and I am delighted to pass on to Mark Catherall, Head of Tourism from Sefton Council, who's going to talk about his recent experience of hosting the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Morning everyone. Yes, thanks for having me. If you go to the next slide, please. Next slide again, please. So just to give a bit of a background in terms of Royal Birkdale. Royal Birkdale hosted the 146th Open in 2017. It was actually the 10th time it hosted the event. A hugely popular course, and it'll be returning once again in 2026. Those who, if you don't know, Royal Birkdale is located on the outskirts of Southport. Southport is a coastal visit destination with a population of 95,000. Sefton itself is to the north of Liverpool, to give you a bit of context on it. When the event came in 17, we had just over 235,000 visitors, which generated a direct impact of 35 million to the local economy. Obviously, what's happened over the years with the Open, it's got bigger and bigger and bigger. So again, when the Open returns in 26, we're expecting those numbers to be much bigger as well. What we wanted to do, we wanted to set some very clear aims when the Open came in order to maximise the benefits to Sefton, Southport and the wider area. So we wanted to use the Open Golf Championship to help grow the value of the visitor economy in Sefton. Visitor economy is absolutely vital to Sefton in terms of its employment and its economic impact onto the borough. We wanted the golf to really enhance the reputation of both Southport and Sefton as a borough in terms of a national and international audience. The golf is an event that helps us attract an international audience, which otherwise we will struggle with other times of the year, but also build on the reputation to host major international events. And then lastly, developing growing England's Gulf Coast brand. We're very fortunate in Sefton that the England's Gulf Coast covers the majority of the borough, 20 miles of coastline. We have some amazing courses as well as Royal Birkdale, so we really wanted to push that as well to visitors coming to enjoy the Open and for them to come back and return. Next slide, please. So on this one, this is basically, I think overall what we wanted to do was basically be ambitious and bold. we know that something like the Open only comes around every sort of 9 to 10 years potentially. So we really wanted to push out and say, you know what, let's make the most of this event. And I think you have to when you have this many people coming from various backgrounds to your destination. So we really wanted to create some compelling reasons for event visitors to come back to Southport, basically dwell and spend money. Now, some of the issues that we had in Southport, and the reason why we sort of looked at this activity as well, is that the hotel stock in Southport is of medium size, but obviously before the Open is announced, the R&A, as you would imagine, will basically work with partners to basically secure accommodation stock. So in terms of the leisure visitor, we didn't have as many leisure visitors staying in Southport. They'd be staying maybe further afield in Liverpool maybe. So the real concern we had at the time was people going to the course, leaving the course and going home or going back straight to the hotel. So it's how do we create that reason for them to actually spend money in businesses and actually enjoy the town. And that was really important for us, because otherwise we didn't feel we'd maximise the opportunity. So we did this through a number of items, really. So we did it through enhancing the place, so really to make it feel like the event was on. I think that's really important. So when people came to Southport, when people came into Sefton, they knew that something big was happening. They knew the Open was on. So there's that real build of excitement in the town. And we did that through branding the town. We did it through wayfinding and some other items, which I'll come on to in a bit. But that was really, really vital for us to do. We then put on free shuttle buses to the town centre. So Royal Birkdale, even though it's in Southport, it's probably around a 15-minute walk from the town centre. So we put on regular shuttle buses, again, branded buses to and through the course back into Southport. We enhanced the destination marketing. Again, this was really important for us to really jump and capture the benefits. So we did that leading up to the event, during the event, and after the event. So we made sure our marketing really talked about the event, but then also talked about everything else that Southport had to offer. So making sure that we talked about things to do, the accommodation, eating out, etc. So really to make sure people were aware of Southport wasn't just about golf while they're here. And we used the event around dealing with investments. This is obviously a huge event that's attracting a big international audience. So we made sure, again, that we used the brand, working with the R&A in the Open, and then we targeted very big developers in with investments to come over the period of the golf to look at the borough and then hopefully invest thereafter. So that was a real big piece for us as well from a business point of view. Really, really important that we had an on-course presence as a team, as part of Sefton Council and England's Gulf Coast. So that was on various items across the course, whether that was within our own marquees, whether it was in the information centre, because again, we really want to capture the people on the course, push them back to the businesses, push them back to the town centre, make sure they know there's much more going on than just the actual event as well. So that's really important, I would say, on that side of things. The other thing we did is we wanted to, again, to be bold and ambitious. So we installed a very large place marketing attraction. And to be fair, we sort of copied this idea a little bit from the Rugby World Cup when it was in Cardiff. And that's really to get the attention of the world media. So installing a huge art installation, you can get the world's media down there, and then they're in Southport Town Centre, and then basically they're basically talking about your town, which is really, really important on that. We also did this town centre golf attraction with activity, and I think this is really important for us because we did need that reason for people to come back to the town, especially after if someone's been on the course for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. What would be a compelling reason for them to come back to Southport and spend money? So we installed a very large golf attraction, and that was long putt challenge, bunker challenges, interactive golf, right in the centre of Southport. But we then brought activity around that. So at the time, we brought lots of golf stars, YouTube stars, etc., who were doing free training sessions, doing interviews to really give a reason to come back and come back to Southport before you got the trainer, before you got the car back home. And that worked really, really well on that, combined with everything else we just talked about as well. Working with business was really important for us because we needed to obviously ensure everyone was ready, but ultimately we wanted everyone to benefit from this. We wanted all the businesses, where they could to benefit from it. So we have a Southport Business Improvement District in Southport, so we worked really closely with them. distributing thousands of open golf toolkits just to make sure that everyone was ready. And obviously that was what you'd expect in terms of times, what people would like, etc., and all that side of things. We also rolled out a huge welcome host training program to all the hospitality sector in Southport. And we said Southport is a visitor destination, so it's got a huge hospitality business side to it. So we really wanted people to get a great welcome when they came to Southport. That's not to say that they didn't already do, but we tailored the program, especially for the event, and we rolled that out in partnership with the colleges and other training providers to all businesses that wanted to take that up. And again, that for us was a great success to make sure that when these international visitors and national visitors came to Southport, they got Southport welcome in order for them to hopefully talk about Southport as a destination and come back thereafter. And I think all of this was ultimately was just to create those reasons for not going from course to room. As we said, in terms of that, you need to create a compelling reason, a compelling experience for people not to go back to their hotel room straight away. You need to create something that they come out and spend money in the bars, the restaurants, other attractions, but also have that great experience when they've been here, so they will come back again. And that was always key for us. If we're attracting over 235,000 people, how do we get those people to come back again? How do we get those people to come back with family and friends? So make sure that they have the best time when they come to your venue and to your town. Next slide, please. So these are just the images before I finish in terms of what it was. I said you can see on the left, that's a very a small snapshot of the activity that we did in the Civic Square in Southport. I said it's hugely popular as well. And I think for that, it's how you build on that. It was slightly different in 17 because the ballot process wasn't in place then. Now, obviously, the ballot process is in place and tickets do sell out. It's about actually when it comes back for us in 26, we'd still want to be doing this activity, but it's about also then giving the opportunity to people who couldn't get tickets to experience the event as well. So it will actually grow, we think, and build in importance for us going forward. And then again, the image on the right is the large sort of placemaking install off the sort of local theatre and museum in the centre of town. And again, a lot of international TV crew and lots of from the national TV cameras sort of did a lot of interviews from there as well. So in terms of the brand in the background, to make sure that was very visible in terms of our hashtag, in terms of our website, just getting that brand to the international audiences was really, really important. So overall, sort of my concluding remarks are do as much as you possibly can, get people to come back to the town and spend money. But in order to do that, you need to give really compelling reasons for them to not get on the train, not to go back to the hotel room or get in their car. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Mark, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us here this morning. And Mark will be sticking around for the Q&A at the end, so if there's any questions so far for either Anya or Mark, or indeed for any of our speakers coming up today, please just be sure to pop those into the questions panel at any stage over this morning's session, and I'll pick up those at the end. So now I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker, Claire McNaughton, who is Tourism NI's Accommodation Certification Manager. So good morning, Claire. Thank you also for joining us today, and it's over to you.
Great, thanks Patricia. Good morning everyone, great to see so many of you on today. So I'm going to give an overview of setting up and running an accommodation business. So whether you're a potential new business or an existing one, this session is designed to provide insights and practical advice. I've based today's presentation on the questions that we frequently receive before and during inspections to make it as informative for you as possible. And I'm aware that some of you on today's webinar are considering offering accommodation for the golf event only, while others are here to offer a longer term quality product. And we'll cover everything from certification to joining the grading scheme and advertising on Discover Northern Ireland. My goal is to make this process as clear and straightforward as possible so that you feel confident and prepared to welcome guests. If you have any questions once I'm finished, please add them to the question box and I'll cover them in the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. So do you like the idea of showcasing your hospitality and welcoming guests from all over the world? Can you imagine highlighting hidden gems and well-known attractions within your locality and beyond? If so, setting up an accommodation may be for you. Setting up an accommodation business can be lucrative and a popular business and a popular venture when it's managed, market it and promote it effectively. However, it does require time and investment. So for certification, I'll walk you through the process, particularly focusing on the role of Tourism Northern Ireland and the inspection itself. I just want to highlight here, you'll note some images on the slide that showcase some innovative accommodation offerings. And this is really just to highlight the fact that we can certify a variety of unique properties. So from traditional holiday cottages right through to more unconventional options like repurposed shipping containers and restored clachan. Next slide, please. So certification is a mandatory requirement for all tourist accommodations operating in Northern Ireland. You must comply with all relevant legislation, particularly the Tourism Order Northern Ireland 1992. This stipulates that all tourist accommodation providers must receive a certificate from Tourism Northern Ireland before trading. You'll also need to ensure compliance with other statutory bodies, and these requirements will vary depending on your chosen category of accommodation, but they may include planning, building control, food hygiene, and completing a fire risk assessment. To get started, you need to apply for an inspection through our website. I've included the link there at the bottom of this slide. And on our website, tourismnorthernireland.com, you'll also find user-friendly guides designed to help you understand and meet the standards necessary for each category to attain certification. So my advice is have a read of those to establish which category suits your property and management style best, and make your application thereafter. I suppose some things to point out, you might be unsure about some of the category requirements. So for example, offering a cooked breakfast within the bed and breakfast category. So alternatives to a full Irish breakfast are acceptable. So don't just think I need to provide a full Irish breakfast within that category. And you can also reflect, your alternative offering within your price point as well. Discuss any uncertainties that you have with your advisor during the inspection. You do need to select a category when you're applying online for an application, but changes can be made after discussing options on your inspection day if you feel you would fit better into another category that would suit your management style better. So once you've completed your application and make payment, you'll receive an appointment letter with a date and time and the name of your advisor. After your property has undergone a physical inspection, and I'll talk more about that in the next slide, by a member of our quality and standards team, you'll receive a certificate which you should display within your property, and the certificate is valid for 4 years. So certification ensures that all accommodations meet minimum standards in terms of cleanliness, safety and provision, and that offers both reassurance to you as an operator but also to your visitors. Next slide, please. Okay, so what to expect during an inspection. So firstly, T&I inspectors are there to help you. We offer advice and guidance and support. Think of the inspection as a visit from an experienced and friendly individual who will walk you through your chosen category of accommodation and its associated criteria, completely tailored to your property. Inspectors ensure that criteria requirements are met, and if there are any outstanding areas, these will be detailed with remedial advice offered. For minor items such as crockery or cutlery, we will still certify and just add conditions to your certificate. And maybe for more major items like furniture items or cleanliness, a follow-up visit might be required. You should present your accommodation as if visitors are arriving on the day of your inspection. This really gives the advisor a clear idea of your offering and allows for advice to be tailored totally to your property. We will look at all areas, as you can see there. If any areas do not meet minimum standards, these will be clearly detailed to ensure that you understand with a stipulated time frame for remedial works to take place, and that's normally 30 days. The majority of potential accommodation businesses considering certification today will likely fall under self-catering, guest accommodation or bed and breakfast categories. So I've included the fees for each here for your information. And again, all this information is available on tourismni.com. Next slide, please. Okay, so the wait list for inspections is currently sitting around 8 weeks. This is a fluid figure, so it can change. So my advice is don't delay with your application. If you know that you want to offer accommodation, go ahead and get that application form in. If there's a specific day or time or date that works best for you, just let us know and we will absolutely do our best to facilitate that. And Stay at the Open are our official partners. They are managing the accommodation for the event, and we work very closely with that team to ensure that all operators are certified before they're listed. Next slide, please. Discover Northern Ireland. Okay, so once you're properly certified, you can list it on digital platforms and online travel agents, as well as on discovernorthernireland.com. You'll note the 3 steps detailed on the slide on how to activate your listing. And once your property is listed on discovernorthernireland.com, you have the opportunity to reach 2.7 million visitors annually from 227 different countries. Being on Discover Northern Ireland also allows your listing to be featured on Tourism Ireland's website, ireland.com, and that targets the overseas market as well as many local council tourism websites. So this significantly increases your exposure and business opportunities. And all of Tourism Northern Ireland's marketing and PR campaigns across the island of Ireland promote discovernorthernireland.com. So this really is a free opportunity that is too good to miss. Next slide, please. So alongside the mandatory certification scheme, Tourism Northern Ireland also operate a voluntary accommodation grading scheme. You can achieve a star rating of between 1 and 5 stars, and you will receive bespoke advice tailored to your property, helping you to not only meet but exceed guest expectations. For 75% of consumers, a star rating influences their choice of accommodations. The quality grading scheme is designed to give visitors a clear idea of the standards of accommodation, service and cleanliness that they can expect during their stay with you. What I would say is, if you're unsure about grading for your property, to put yourself in the shoes of a guest. Would you prefer to stay in a star graded property or not? And you can apply online for grading at tourismnorthernireland.com, or please contact your certification advisor if you want to get further advice and information. So as well as achieving a star rating, graded members can exclusively access Tourism Northern Ireland's welcome schemes, and these schemes are designed for accommodation providers who are actively participating in Tourism NI's quality grading schemes. The welcome schemes cater to specific interests such as family travel, walking holidays, golf holidays, cycling and many more. And the welcome schemes really help direct visitors to suitable establishments that pay particular attention to their various needs. On the next slide, we have Nick Neal, the proprietor of Blackrock House Bed and Breakfast, a 5-star bed and breakfast in Portrush. And Nicola is going to discuss the welcome schemes and share how Blackrock House Bed and Breakfast caters for the golf market. And following Nicola, we have George Diamondes, the golf market and manager here in Tourism Northern Ireland. Thank you.
Many visitors to Northern Ireland look for specialised accommodation. Tourism Northern Ireland's welcome schemes help them find the perfect place to stay, and those accommodation providers can really benefit. Lots of businesses tailor their offering to meet scheme criteria, like Blackrock House, which qualified for the Golfers Welcome Scheme.
Blackrock House started back in 2010 when I moved back from London, and I bought the property and we set about renovating the house into a beautiful new 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom home for myself, but essentially so that I could work from home and open a bed and breakfast. I was really delighted to be part of the Golf Welcome Scheme accreditation. You know, it's a big thing for me being here in Portrush, home of Royal Portrush. Plus we're very close to Castle Rock. The golf market is huge for this area. Certain elements that we've had to do differently in Blackrock to accommodate golf guests, while structurally everything there is the same. It's also being flexible with your times for breakfast, knowing their golf itinerary and when they're playing can really help plan their stay, because it's going to be some really early starts, especially if they're travelling to any golf course that's a little bit further away from your core ones in the town. Equally, it can all be about the secure storage for their items, the golf gear. You might even have to receive those items in advance if they're shipping them over and not travelling with their golf gear. So it was allowing an extra space to accommodate the kind of bulk storage and a drying area for their clothes, because a lot of the golf materials, they can't go in the tumble dryer as well. Other things we do would be a sort of complimentary cakes or a local cheese board or deli board when they come back in the afternoon. Letting the golf clubs also know that you're there so that you can go and speak to them, know who the office staff are, who the pros are in the shop, their opening times. It's really important to know things like when it's Members' Day to play or President's Day when your guests can't play. If they're flexible to be able to change tea times, which are quite often very difficult to change because they're booked up to a year in advance. I really do get a sense that the guests appreciate the efforts that we go to here at Blackrock. We had to put in Sky this year, no question really, because if the golfers aren't playing golf, they want to watch golf, particularly when there's competitions on. It really has benefited because I can see the growth in golf tourism compared to last year, and equally I have bookings already for next year from Tokyo, which is amazing. It's my first Japanese guest.
Okay, thanks so much, Claire. And I'd like to invite George Diamandis, our Golf Marketing Manager, to join us now. And hi, good morning, George. Over to you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Patricia. Good morning, everyone. My name is George Diamandis, and I'm the Golf Marketing Manager here at Tourism NI. And this morning, I'm just going to briefly touch on the golfing visitor in two separate ways. Firstly, to look at the championship itself, what to expect next year from when the build commences at the beginning of April right through to the D-Rig at the end of August. And then we'll look at very briefly on the generic visitor that'll come in on the annual basis to play golf in Northern Ireland. So next slide, please. So when looking at the Open Championship next year, something that's very important to consider, and Anya touched on this, is that the visitors will start coming in big numbers from the beginning of April. That's when the build will start on up in Portrush. So you'll see a huge amount of temporary structures that'll be going in. So you'll have over 1,000 contractors over those 3 months come to Northern Ireland. So they'll be staying in hotels and B&Bs, eating out in pubs and restaurants, coffee shops during the day, and so forth. Those numbers will ramp right up, with the most at any one time being 874, I beg your pardon, right in the beginning of July when a lot of the work starts to commence. For the Open Championship week itself, there'll be a number of staff on board looking at the RNA staff, the security, Tourism NI staff, as well as a lot of the corporate sponsors. So you'll have the likes of Loch Lomond Distillery, who will send over around 30 staff that'll manage their stand in the Spectator Village. Trackman with their swing studio as well will be bringing on their own staff to man those stands. And then you'll have the corporate hospitality guests. So the big corporate sponsors will be entertaining a lot of their key clients over that week. So you'll tend to find a lot of corporate guests that will be flown over and looked after by their suppliers. For the week itself, then the spectators, so the vast majority of the numbers that will be attending the championship will be the spectators. And I'll go into a little more detail and then on the next slide in terms of how that ticketing structure works. And then, of course, the players, their families, and their staff, so the likes of their coach, the caddies, and physios. And then looking post-open, the full structures will be broken down by the end of August. So you've got a good 6 months of activity in and around Portrush, which will involve visitors coming in and staying. Next slide, please. So when looking at the structure of the tickets, there is an authorized provider program, which the RNA run, which allows specific golf tour operators access to sell the general admission tickets. It's a program where they have to buy in. There's an investment that's required from the tour operators to buy into, and packages will need to include accommodation alongside the tickets that they sell. There are 15 general admission and hospitality providers, so they'll have access to sell the general admission tickets and the hospitality or premium experiences. And then we have 11 specific authorized hospitality only providers. They'll only get access to sell the hospitality packages. They would have been given access to an allocated number of tickets prior to tickets going on sale, and they would have been reaching out to a lot of the hotels already last year, looking at securing accommodation blocks to match the ticket numbers that they have to sell. The general admission ticket is new for 2025. This is something we didn't have back in 2019, which means now its tickets are not sold on a first come, first served basis. So if you would have put in your submission, you'd be a member of the one club and you would have put in your preferred days. And these would have been allocated in 3 waves, which were concluded at the end of September. So everyone now would have, or the vast majority of people coming to attend the Open next year will have been allocated their tickets. An important consideration for us with the ballot this year is that we're not going to have spectators staying for a full week and attending 5 days at the Open. You might have been allocated a Wednesday practice day and a Saturday championship day. So spectators will then be spending a bit more time off the course, away from Portrush, and experiencing more that there is to see in Northern Ireland. So you'll see people maybe traveling around a bit, and a lot of those will be looking to play golf in different locations around Northern Ireland. A Ticket Plus is a new product which they're looking to sell at Portrush for the first time as well, and that is a product that sits in between general admission and hospitality. So it's essentially a general admission ticket which allows you to skip the ballot, but then gives you a number of perks such as your own private bathrooms and bar facilities and seating areas that the general admission ticket wouldn't get, but does not require the same investment as one of the premium experiences would require. Then look at the hospitality packages, which the RNA have rebranded to their premium experiences. There are 6 levels of the hospitality which they sell throughout the Wednesday through to the final day on the Sunday. These are either sold through the authorized providers that will package it up for the spectators needing accommodation and ground transport, but they are available online for corporates to buy for a table of 10 to look after some of their own clients, or for the everyday spectator who looking to have that elevated experience when looking to attend the Open. Just going back to the ballot, we have not yet got the breakdown of what regions or what nationalities the ballots has been awarded to, but I've got a little graph on the right-hand side that will just show you the breakdown of one club members. So you have to be a one club member first of all to apply for the ballot. So the vast majority, 70% of those who would have got general admission tickets through the ballot would have come from the UK and Ireland, followed by the US and Canada. 20% will be the next biggest market. Next slide, please. So a couple of important considerations to bear in mind in the lead up to the event itself is that most spectators now will be allocated their tickets. There are a handful of tickets on the Ticket Plus and premium experiences that are available for a couple of the days, but the majority of all the weekend tickets are sold out at this stage unless you're looking to purchase through one of the approved providers, which will give you an accommodation package that wraps around it. The primary reason for the majority of spectators to come to the Open next year will be to watch the championship. Given that a lot of these people would have been allocated tickets in the ballot and might not have got all the days they would have wanted or on consecutive days, which means that people will be getting out and playing a lot more golf. So if you're an accommodation provider in and around the vicinity of Royal Portrush from Belfast all the way across to Derry, Londonderry, bear in mind that your guests might be looking to play some golf. So reach out to the local golf clubs or reach out to us in the golf marketing team and we can assist you with that as well. From our perspective at TNI, our big focus will be on marketing the destination. So tickets have sold out. We know we don't have to put any investment into driving ticket sales as what we might have done back in 2019. So we're making sure that people are aware of what there is to do all across Northern Ireland to get out and experience, whether you're wanting to play some golf, whether you're here or looking to see more of the broader non-golf experiences. We'll be pushing that message out as much as we can into the build up to the event and during the event itself. And then also don't forget to consider the longer term relationships. Whether it's spectators looking to come in for the first time to experience Northern Ireland, we found in 2019 that there is a high propensity of those looking to come back and travel again. And likewise, if you're dealing with some corporate inquiries or some golf tour operators, always bear in mind that a little bit of flexibility on minimum night stays could benefit you in the long run when looking at securing business with those operators into 2026 and beyond. Next slide, please. So I just want to quickly go into the average golf visitor that'll come and visit Northern Ireland to play golf on the annual basis. As Anya had mentioned at the start of the webinar, over £68 million was generated from golf visitors into the economy last year. And those are visitors that came here with a primary reason to play golf in Northern Ireland as part of their stay. When looking at out-of-state visitors, so those who came and spent a night in Northern Ireland, we had over 29,000 people come here to play golf. And if we were to look at breaking that down into two markets, it very much is North America and then everyone else. Next slide, please. So the reason why I say that is for the North Americans, and that'll be Canadians and US visitors, coming to Northern Ireland to play golf is a bucket list experience. They're prepared to put their hand a little deep in their pockets and pay a little bit more for a premium experience. You can see on the graph the red dots indicate the number of visitors that come from each market, and the blue graphs show the spend. So the Americans vastly outspending more than anybody else, and they're very much coming to play the links, the championship links product, and not so much the parkland product. Looking at the rest of the world, particularly GB, which is our next biggest market, they're looking at shoulder season stays, they're looking at value for money. It might not necessarily be their first overseas or away from home holiday for that year. It might not even be their first golf trip of the year, but they're coming to look for value for money. They're wanting to play more the hidden gem, the parkland product, and looking at regions right across Northern Ireland and not necessarily just the championship links courses. But if you're new to golf, whether you're an accommodation provider or an experience provider, and you feel that your product is a good fit for the golf market, please don't hesitate to get in touch. The golf marketing team will be able to talk you through in a bit more detail of the nuances of the golf market, or have a look at the Tourism NI website and download a copy of the Golf Tourism Monitor, which will give you a full report into last year's golfing visitor, how much they spend, where they come from, and what they look for when they come to Northern Ireland to play golf. Thanks very much. That's back to you, Patricia. You move to the next slide.
Yeah, thanks, George. Next up, we're going to be hearing from our Industry Development Manager, Carolyn Boyd. So I'd like to welcome Carolyn along, if you're there.
Hi, Patricia. Thanks. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Great to see so many and hear so many of you on the call today. And just to say, an overwhelming amount of information downloaded there. So I know some brains maybe be fried a bit by this stage, but what I wanted to say really was that there's lots of things to think about. You know, Halloween is just maybe still going on for you, and then we're in the mouth of Christmas. But really, there isn't a good time, you know, not to think about this, because it's so huge, and as you can see, there's a lot to take in. One of the things I want people to consider, because part of my job is a lot to do with the skills and the people, and what I really want you to think about is just the scale and size of the people effort that's taken, whether it's the huge welcome, which we've heard about, and we are renowned for our welcome, so we know that that's really, really important, and we've heard from Mark about how that was important for him in and around his events in Liverpool. But the event itself will actually create up to 5,000 job opportunities. So I think that's a great blessing, and also it may be a bit of a curse in terms of finding all those people. And as George said, there will be people coming over to set up. The RNA will bring a lot of staff as well, but it will touch into our local economy, because we are going to be looking for people locally. So there'll be a lot of organisations looking for staff, but one thing I'd like you to think about, people on the call, is, you know, have you got your own staff in place? And you might be relying on the usual seasonal staff. There is, think about last year, you know, is there anything that you could have done differently? Maybe you could have offered some more services or experiences, and will that take an extra effort of staff to make sure you're ramping up to that? And is the rota that you've got, you know, currently really ramping up and ready for that? And if you're supplying seasonal staff, you may want to think that other people will be looking for those seasonal staff as well. So it might be an opportunity now to start talking to those people, or looking for people to help you in your business. The RNA are planning a recruitment week in early February, and there'll be community engagement events as well in and around February. So that's when you'll start seeing that people will be talking to both people locally and further afield. And as I say, it's not just about the local area. We ourselves will be working with Springboard, the charity, to get the word into schools. And there's an event in the Causeway Visitor Centre on the 19th of February where local schools will be coming in. So that's really about looking at the future and the legacy. And as I say, this event goes beyond this year and into the future. The company that are looking after the catering contractors are a company called Absolute Taste, and they are currently recruiting, and they are looking for graduates, ops assistants at the moment, but they'll be looking for at least 700 hospitality roles. So that could be great for people and jobs in the area and outside the area. So they'll be looking for waiters, supervisors, chefs, kitchen porters, and they're going to be announcing their recruitment as well. We will be working closely with the labour market partnerships, which are, there's a labour market market partnership in every council. And this will be creating a legacy beyond the year into the future. So opening up maybe people's first time jobs, or it could be you've retired and you want to just work in the open. So lots and lots of opportunities for everybody to get involved. And we'll be using our own Make It Here campaign, which you might be familiar with, to attract people into that portal and into that site. Of course, there will be volunteer opportunities, which will all be communicated in due course, just to make sure that we're providing that giant welcome that we are famous for. And as Anya says, there'll be many, many ways to keep in touch with everyone. We'll be working up on a toolkit which will allow you to market, look at opportunities in the area, and we will be getting updates from all the various multi-agency groups, which we will share with you as we journey through. So I think that's all for me, and I know we wanted to take some questions, so I'll hand back to Patricia for that, and good to see you all.
Thank you so much, Carolyn, and to all our speakers this morning. We had such a full agenda, so I'm so impressed we've got through the main presentations before 11 o'clock. So just to let everyone who's joined us this morning know, at this stage we will be sharing a recording of today's live presentation along with a link to the slides that you've seen, so you can review those again at your leisure. So I'll shortly be kicking off our Q&A session, as Carolyn said, so any questions at all that you haven't yet shared, there's still time to enter those in the question panel on your screen, and we'll get through as many as we can today. And just before we get stuck into your questions, I'm going to do a couple of very quick polls to get a feel for how useful you find today's session so far. So first poll should pop up on your screen now. It's how beneficial did you find today's session? So that's on a scale of 1 to 5. Is that poll appearing there? Hello? Oh, there we go. Apologies, maybe it was a slight delay on mine. So that's on a scale of 1 to 5. How beneficial did you find today's session? I'll just give you a second to fill that in. Place your bets now. Okay, thank you. The second poll is how would you rate today's webinar in terms of timeliness? So that's again on a scale of 1 to 5. Super, thank you so much, everyone. And the final is just a very simple yes or no question, and that is, do you plan to take any action as a direct result of what you've heard from our speakers so far today? And thank you so much. It's a great help just to capture this little bit of information, but I'll also take the opportunity now to tell you that following this webinar, along with our link to the recording, we will receive a link to a short evaluation survey as well. So that's really your chance to let us know not only how useful you find today's session, but also what else you'd like to see or hear about in order to prepare for the Open Championship next year. So we really do value your feedback and any suggestions, so I urge you to just take a few moments to complete that whenever it does come into your inbox. Okay, so now it's time to get stuck into your questions. I'd like to, at this stage, invite back each of our speakers from this morning. So Anya Kearney, Tourism NI Director of Events, Mark Catherall, Sefton Council, Claire McNaughton, Tourism NI Accommodation Manager, Accommodation Certification Manager, apologies, George Diamondis, Tourism NI Golf Marketing Manager, Carolyn Boyd, Tourism NI Industry Development Manager, and also at this stage I'd like to join a few extra faces to join our panel. So we've got Peter Thompson and Niall McGurk from Causeway Coast and Glens Council. Hopefully they're with us. I know Niall's having some technical issues, so hopefully he's there. And also Emer Hone, Tourism NI's Major Events Manager. So Emer, are you there? Fabulous. I think this might be the largest Q&A panel we've actually had on one of these. So we've got all the brains with us today, and welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. So we have had quite a few questions through already. Have we got everyone there? Just trying to check my screen. So thanks so much. So we've quite a few questions through already. So thank you to anyone that has submitted any. And we'll just get stuck straight in. Hi everyone, welcome back. Everyone can hear me okay? Yeah, All good. Apologies, I had a little glitch there. Okay, so the first question, I'll come to you, Emer, if you don't mind. Someone was wondering if there are our local artisan food suppliers being given the chance to sell at the event, and I wonder if you could give us any update on that at all.
Sure, thank you so much, Patricia. So for the event, Absolute Taste are the main catering supplier for on-course catering at the Open. And we at TNI at the minute are working really closely with Absolute Taste to identify local supply chain opportunities, and we will ensure that any opportunities that we become aware of are communicated via our TNI channels. However, one point to note is that each year the Open Camping Village specifically seek to find local suppliers and contractors and vendors. So again, if any opportunities do become available via TNI, we will let the industry know. So something else to consider, but there may also be opportunities with Causey Coast and Glens Council for any off-site activity, and that's something that we could also keep you guys informed on as well.
Super. Thank you so much, Emer. Thanks for that. Well, speaking of the council, I'll come to you guys next. So Peter or Niall, whoever would like to come in here. Basically, someone was wondering, how can businesses within Portrush become more involved with the Open and ensure that visitors are aware that the town is open while the championship is on? Would one of you like to jump in there?
Yeah, thank you, Patricia. Peter, I can take this from a business perspective. Obviously, from the council is acting as a lead in terms of all business engagement aspects of the Opens, with a view to ensuring that the town's businesses benefit both before, during, and after the event takes place. So we're currently just starting the process of developing a business toolkit, which Caroline touched upon in her presentation, and this will be developed, providing specific details in terms of opportunities that businesses can capitalise in the event. The toolkit itself is going to provide kind of useful tips in terms of information how businesses can make the most of this event, in terms of providing the warm welcome to the over 240,000 visitors I think is expected for the summer. So basically it's a guide, and it'll aid the businesses in terms of how they can maximise their commercial potential at the event. There'll also be coverage on media channels, and that'll promote the town as being open for business as well. In addition to this, the council will deliver additional activities throughout the town during the week of the Open by ways of events and public space animation. There'll be a regular contact forum with local businesses will be established to assist with the planning of the event. And as Caroline says, you'll start to see those events and information events starting to come in the start of 2025, around February, March, where public and businesses will learn more about how they can get involved.
That's super. Thank you so much, Niall. Okay, great. Now, Claire, I'm going to come to you next, if you don't mind. With someone, and I think we have a few people in a similar boat who would like to rent out their property for the Open, but they're brand new to this. And I know you did touch on this, but within your slides. But could you remind us of really what's the first step they should take in terms of getting in touch with your team, or what should they do first?
Absolutely, thanks Patricia. So first of all, our website, so tourismni.com/forms is where you can apply online. And when you land on that page, you'll also see some accommodation guides, and that chats you through each of the 8 different types of accommodation and the requirements for those. There's also a contact us section, so send us an email or give us a call. Our phone number is on there as well, and we'll happily chat you through any aspect. But if you know you're wanting to offer accommodation, go on ahead and get your application form in. And once you receive the appointment letter, there's a phone number, a mobile number for your advisor, and you can contact them prior to the inspection date to discuss any queries or concerns that you may have. Hopefully there won't be too many concerns. It's a very straightforward process from a very friendly team, really there to help you. We are your business partner in all of this. So yeah, reach out at any time.
Yeah, super. Thank you so much, Claire. Now I'm going to come to you, George, if you don't mind. We have had someone who's wondering if Tourism NI, I know you'd said there would be some wider activity for obviously people. There'll be days whenever people are over for the golf, and then there'll be in between days. So Is there any plan for activity in terms of golf clubs selling green fees or showing availability to some hidden gems? I suppose, is there a plan for, what's the plan for wider activity to help encourage people to go to places outside of Portrush?
Yeah, so on the Discover and I website /golf, we'll have a listing of all the stay and play offers. What we're looking to do in the lead up to the Open Championship is just to have clusters or golf club availability where you can just go and book the golf course you want to play at individually. In terms of advice on how to price, there is definitely a margin to be made over the week of the Open, but just bear in mind, people need to stay in a bed, so they're prepared to pay a bit more for an accommodation provider. It's unlikely that the golf course you're going to be able to say double or triple your green fees over that week, purely because you can survive with not playing golf for those 3 days and wait till you get home. So we will be able to engage in some advice in terms of how to price for the golf, but the majority of golf clubs in Northern Ireland sell their tee times through BRS and Golf Now. So visitors will be going on to BRS, and that's where they'll be looking to secure their tee times and booking through the platform that they have available to you there. But if there's any specific questions you have or any specific advice you want, feel free to reach out to us. We can help you directly.
That's super, thank you. And I suppose it's worth bearing that in mind. If anyone has any very specific questions here, we're getting quite a lot of questions through. If I don't manage to pick them up live on the call today, we have your details, and we'll look to come back to you directly if there's something maybe quite specific that's come through. So no, that's super. Thank you so much. We do have a question here, Carolyn. I think this might be one for you. Just in wondering, someone was involved in a World Host ambassador training for the 29 event, and they were wondering, which was well received, and they were wondering, is there any kind of plan in relation to anything like that again for next year, or are we too early to say?
Yeah, well, there's plans in place where we are quite early. We're still looking at the plans for volunteering and training. But yes, there will be training opportunities, whether it's with your local council or the local college, and the volunteering side as well. So, I mean, the welcome is so important to us. So we will be focusing in on that. But what we will be building as well is we'll be building a dedicated place on tni.com. So it'll be like a portal where all of this information will be pushed out. You can go and look for it, but it will be pushed out to you over the coming months. And it'll link in, as Niall said, to the Causeway information, and it'll link to accommodation. So hopefully we'll have one-stop shop for everybody to find everything they need. And I think that's really, really important. But yes, we will keep you very well informed over the next couple of months. Probably a wee bit too early to know specifically what we're doing, but it will all become clear over time.
That's super. Thank you so much, Carolyn. We do have a question here, Peter. I'll maybe come to you, and Niall maybe touched on this, but someone was wondering about the nighttime economy during the Open, and if there's any entertainment options that have been discussed, or if there's a plan of action in relation to that. Is there anything you can add on that at all, Peter?
Hi, Patricia. So we have a tourism and promotion or a branding and animation subgroup that has started setting to look at all the types of activities and events that can be put on to enhance the visitor experience while they're in the area. Now, the exact detail of that in terms of what we're planning to do and the resources have yet to be confirmed. We need to take a few reports through council just to get an idea and approvals. But it's likely to be activities that will focus on encouraging people to stay in and around the area post-event. There will be daytime activities, obviously, to facilitate the people who are visiting Portrush as a normal experience, maybe outside the golf. So Portrush is very much open for business and Portstewart and the surrounding area for all our visitors coming into the area during the golf event. So we'll be doing our normal summer program, but we'll be enhancing that, providing extra activities for the event. So it's likely to be entertainment, family entertainment, and then evening type entertainment that will serve the needs of the golf visitors who are staying in the area.
That's super. Thank you so much, Peter, for that. And I think we'll actually wind it up there. I think that's a long time for everyone to concentrate for. I'd just like to hand over to Anya if you've a few comments you'd like to make at this stage.
Thanks, Patricia. I just want to say huge thanks to all of our panelists today for joining in and sharing what is a huge amount of work that's happening behind the scenes. But as importantly, to thank everybody in the audience that has joined. There's a couple of things that have come to mind through the questions I've seen popping up online, and I thought we'll just very quickly summarise on them. I think first and foremost, accommodation providers out there, you're a really, really important part of our equation and about our ability to, I suppose, sweat off the open coming in 2025. You know, you need to be thinking about long term. So think about your pricing. Don't just be thinking about the short term quick win. Think about the long term opportunities in terms of all of those large percentage of out of state visitors. Many of them will be coming to Northern Ireland for the first time and will come back if we can give them the right, quality of offer at the right price. Think about making sure that your services are available at the right time. George talked about that. Claire's shown the examples at Blackrock. And Mark has also talked about what a lot of the businesses have done in terms of opening early and closing late, and make sure again the quality of the offer that you have matches the price point that you're going to. What we are hearing from, I suppose, other host venues is that spectators do have a price point that they're willing to pay, and they will be willing to stay further away. I know there have been a couple of questions in terms, is Ballycastle too far? Is Belfast too far? I think that when we look back to the patterns of 2019, the answer to that is absolutely not. But I also think that the difference in the ballot allocation means that people will be willing to stay further, especially if they're scheduling other things to do on the days they're not spectating the golf itself. And I think the other thing that I would say to that is that it's really, really important that when it comes to our pricing, whether that's for accommodation, whether it's for attractions and others, we need to be thinking about our long-term business as well. We have unfortunately heard from some of our tour operators that they haven't been able to get maybe the same rates, or they haven't been able to get the same availability. And we want to ensure that hosting this actually maximises the opportunities for economic growth in Northern Ireland rather than subtracting from it. So, don't forget about the day-to-day whole stay business. We've all worked really, really hard over the last 10 years to secure new tour operators programming into Northern Ireland. So do make sure that you maintain those relationships and you actually use this as an opportunity to grow. Attractions and experience providers, I would encourage you to engage with actually your accommodation providers, because they're the first point of contact in terms of making sure you're front of mind, whether that be through concierge services, whether that be through websites, whether it be through others. And as you've heard today, there's going to be a whole raft of different platforms available. George has talked about some of them in terms of Gulf Pacific, but we will have a whole range of different pieces of communication going out. So stay connected to our Discover Northern Ireland team, as well as the team in Tourism Ireland, and as well as Peter and Niall in the council, to make sure that your offer is front of mind and getting pushed out on the right channels to the right people. And finally, a couple of points. Traffic and transport, there's been loads of questions there. Guys, we want to nail down on those plans as much as you do. I know that Peter is leading a huge amount of work behind the scenes on that. But just to manage expectations, it's normally that those traffic and transport plans aren't really honed and signed off until the last 6 weeks before the event. And a lot of that will come into the logistics. But we do want to assure you, like we've done for other major events, including the Open, is that we will do a follow-up session. So those businesses that are particularly affected by the traffic and transport plans in the town, there'll be, again, communications going out to that, as well as that others that want to make sure that they have the right information to pass on to the visitors that either staying with them or potentially visiting them. We'll make sure that there's little sound bites and information that's available to you, but that will be, I suppose, in those 6 to 8 weeks ahead of the event. And I suppose the final thing I would say is, don't think this is the last you've heard of us, because I think what we have seen is a real flavour of the types and diversity of questions that have come through. And what we'll look to do is to try and organise sessions that are maybe a little bit more either sectorally orientated or regionally orientated, so you're getting the right information that's relevant to your business and where you're located. But once again, thank you so much for your time today, and I'm going to pass you back to Patricia.
Thank you so much, Anya, and thank you to all of our speakers today, and also to the team at Eventful behind the scenes, keeping us all running smoothly. We've got Jordan and Eden and Barry all with us today, so a full house. But thank you so much, and as Anya said, we'll be in touch with you again with other opportunities. So if you happen to find out about today through some other channel and you're not signed up for our mailing lists and onboarded at tourismni.com, please do head to tourismni.com and do that to make sure you're first to hear about any other opportunities that may be coming up. And also you can access our e-learning platform and manage your Discover Northern Ireland listings as Claire was talking about. So it's really worth your while to do that as well. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day, and see you at the next one. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.